Justice and Correctional Services Minister Ronald Lamola has warned that the International Criminal Court may exhibit favouritism towards particular scenarios and lawsuits which could damage the impartiality of the Hague-based court. Lamola is in New York to mark the 25th anniversary of the adoption of the Rome Statute, which governs the operations of the ICC. Speaking exclusively to the SABC News, he also indicated that no final decision has been taken on the execution of Russian President Vladimir Putin's arrest warrant, but that the country was clear on its obligations. The minister also weighed in on the Constitutional Court's ruling that former President Jacob Zuma's release from prison on medical grounds was unlawful. Here now are the full discussions with UN correspondent Sherwin Bryce-Pease.
The ministerial roundtable that the notion that the ICC may exhibit favoritism towards particular scenarios and lawsuits was difficult to refute, damaging its image as an impartial entity, as a states party. How will South Africa's perspective shape the court in the next decade?
Yeah, it is important that events of this nature and commemoration should be used to reflect on its past work, which, as you have said, does reflect that there could be that biasness towards particular states and agendas, particularly when you look at the fact that the ICC, there are certain matters where they've opened investigations long before, like the Palestinian one, which has not been concluded, and other matters that they've just come in, they've already made certain recommendations. So that affects the sustainability of this court and it's a prosecution. Because these kind of institutions must be sustained by its impartiality, by it being fair, by it being based on a clear rule of law, which has got no eyes. It's done without any favor, prejudice, or any other biasness or perception or real. So it is important that going forward, the court should correct, or the prosecution should correct that perception through its action, which is fair, open, and without any perception of any biasness and without prejudice.
You will, though, acknowledge that the ICC, you say, has struggled with its fair share of challenges in the past 25 years, that its relationship, in particular with African states, has been rocky, and that despite its efforts, it has yet to quite hit the mark in achieving justice and universality. Explain a little bit more in terms of justice and the universality that you're seeking.
Yeah, it is exactly what I said, what you are referring to, particularly when you look at the fact that there are permanent members of the Security Council of the United Nations who have not yet signed to be members of the Rome Statute. It does affect its universality in that regard, because you will expect that all the members of the Security Council should be members, they should have signed, and if and when they participate is informed by them having been full signatories of the Rome Statute. So it is surprising that they could sometimes the perception of them exerting a particular influence when they have not themselves been signatories of the Rome Statute. And for us in the African continent, the fact that the court or the prosecution could be seen to be pursuing certain projects and investigations without doing the same across the globe. And we must be understood within the context that we're not saying they should not be pursued, even in the African continent. We're saying it should be done everywhere. In the African continent, it will be done in Palestine, it should be done everywhere where there is an injustice, because that is the purpose of the court. It should not be seen to be having eyes.
Let's talk a bit about the elephant in the room, the court's indictment and the arrest warrant of two officials from the Russian Federation, including President Vladimir Putin. We have been focused, Minister, on President Putin's attendance of the BRICS summit in South Africa in August and South Africa's obligations in that regard. But we haven't really sought South Africa's position on the indictment itself. Do you believe President Putin and others in the Russian Federation have a case to answer before the ICC?
Yeah, obviously you will be aware that such obligations, as and when the states are requested to respond to them, are confidential until the ICC gives permission to that requested member of states to be able to disclose to the public. So
now, I'm asking you about the indictment. I'm asking you not about your obligations under the indictment. I'm asking you about the indictment itself. Do you believe there's a case to be answered? Whether you arrest President Putin or not, is there a case that South Africa as a state party believes the Russian Federation has to answer here?
Yeah, that question is an indirect question with regards to the indictment, because already, as you are aware, there is a warrant of arrest. And that is exactly, I'm answering, that whatever is consequential to the warrant of arrest, in terms of the Rome Statute to the requested state, that they've got an obligation. It's a confidential process, and we can only be able to answer that when that has been waived and so forth. And I do believe that soon our head of state will be able to communicate to the nation about South Africa's position in this regard, and also to the rest of the world.
Are you, though, clear, despite the confidential nature of this, are you clear on South Africa's obligations in terms of the Rome Statute as it pertains to this arrest warrant?
Yes, we are very clear. There's no confusion.
Okay, so if you were to set foot in the country, there would be an obligation, right?
Yeah, obviously, I cannot answer that, what will happen with the arrest warrant, because it's exactly what I've said. But as to what is our obligations in terms of the Rome Statutes and so forth, it's well known. There's no confusion, it's clear. But what we'll do and what will happen is what I'm saying, that the president at the right time will inform the nation and the rest of the world what is South Africa's position and what is going to happen in this regard.
Minister, a few questions on some domestic issues, if I may. You're a key member of the security cluster in South Africa. We understand the cluster convened last week in the aftermath of the Constitutional Court's ruling that former President Jacob Zuma, regarding former President Jacob Zuma's early release on medical parole, citing it as unlawful. You have political oversight both of the judiciary and correctional services. What is your reading of the Apex Court's decision, and what must happen now?
Yeah, as you are aware, the National Commissioner for Correctional Services is currently consulting with the legal advisors internally in the department and also external. And he has informed me that he will be able to make a decision as soon as possible, and I believe maybe before the end of the week, with regards to what is the interpretation of the court judgment, and also what is his decision with regards to what must happen with regards to the court order, which is it's a well considered view, because with such kind of judgments which have got serious implications, it is important that he applies his mind. I will just call for calm in the country, and also call for space to give the National Commissioner to read the judgment, to apply his mind, and to then take a decision that they will inform both the parties or all the parties involved in the matter, including the nation. And I will believe that at that stage, we can then be able to say to the nation, this is what has been decided by the National Commissioner. And obviously, he does inform me that this is where he is. And I believe also when he has taken a decision, he will be able to inform me, which I will obviously ask him whether is this in line with what you are saying in terms of the judgment, what is this, all the corners of the judgment have been covered, because this is a serious matter.
Right.
It does affect and implicates the implementation of the rule of law in the country, the issues of justice and all that. So it is important that the National Commissioner, and applying his mind, he reads and gets legal advice.
Your call for calm is very likely informed by what we saw play out when the former president was incarcerated a few years ago, the violence that ensued in South Africa. What are your discussions, particularly within the Security Council, the likes of the Police Minister Becky Cele? How are you planning to mitigate any possibility of a recurrence of that violence?
Yeah, indeed, we do engage with the Minister of Police from time to time, and I will also, upon getting the information from the National Commissioner for Correctional Service, inform the Minister of Police that this is the decision, this could be the implications, and from time to time, he does also engage with me with regards to the plans, the police plans, and what they are dealing with across the country, including the issue that they are dealing with now of trucks and so forth. So it does need that the cluster as a whole should prepare itself for any eventuality. But I do think that at this stage, it could be something that can only be informed to the nation that this could be the plan or that could be done in this kind of matters. I think for now, the key important thing is to allow and give space to the National Commissioner to be able to apply his mind, to take the decision, informed by the law and the facts. And I do believe that at that time, the nation could be able to handle the matter. We have gone through difficult issues in the country, and I don't foresee any difficulties in the country and South Africa being able to go through even this matter.
EFF leader Julius Malema has called for an immediate pardon of the former president. How does that view align with government's thinking? I know a pardon is quite a lengthy process. It has to be sort of processed through the Justice Department in consultation with the presidency. Is that something that is on the table at all?
Yeah, obviously when the National Commissioner makes his decision, we will also respond to any other type of a question related to the matter, including what you are raising, because it depends on what he is going to make as a decision. So I will not want to preempt the decision of the National Commissioner. I think it will be better to give him that space. When he has made a decision, then we can deal with any other question in relation to the incarceration or non-incarceration thereof.